My dad taught me how to love. Now, love is an interesting topic especially when it comes to men talking about it, because a lot of times we feel like love is only well, at least our expression of love is only for the love we have for a woman. So a lot of times boys play the pause game when it comes to love, and I'm gonna need us to chill out on that, because there's nothing funny about love. It's necessary. The foundation of that we build everything on has to be on love. If not, it's going to cause so much strife in this world. Now, my father was intentional with him showing love to me as a child, so I didn't grow up with that type of deficit. The same thing with my mom. At least once a night before I go to bed, or sometime throughout the day, I hear "I love you" from my father or my mother. And his relationship with love started a little different than mine did. My father wasn't raised by his father, but he had a stepfather, which was my aunt's biological father. Stepped in. My dad called him Daddy Boy. So my dad was born in 1955. So that's pretty old. He's 68 years old. So I imagine his stepfather had to be born in the 20s or 30s. So that's a very difficult, hard time, especially for black men to grow up. And my dad always told me that he knew his stepfather loved him and he loved his stepfather. They just never actually said it. So one day, my father was at the greatest university in the land, Prairie View A&M University, and he built up enough courage to tell his father that "I love you," but he didn't want to do it over the phone. So he made plans to come home from college back to Longview, Texas, a weekend. And when he came down for the weekend, before he can get in his car to come home, his father died. So he never physically got to look him in his eye and tell him "I love you." So that kind of hunted him up until that point. But listen, one thing I want you to understand: don't beat yourself up over things you don't know. Right? If you make a mistake because you don't know something, it's okay. We don't know everything. Learn from it. Apply it when you move forward. Listen, when you know better, you do better. You can't do better until you know better, right? So when me and my brother was born, guess what we heard all the time? "I love you." Right? So it's important for men to tell their children and to tell their loved ones that they actually love them. It's important to hear that and feel it coming from your loved one, especially from from peer to peer. Because a lot of us love our brothers that we accrue through life. And it's important for us to look each other in the eye and tell us, like, shout out to my partner, Corey Garrett. Me and my brother and my father, we all shared "I love yous," but out in public, it was kind of taboo to say. And my first peer that got me to be comfortable saying it was Corey Garrett. It was this giant I went to college with. When I say giant, I'm not even kidding. The man was 6'9". I remember the first time he came to my crib. Matter of fact, Corey is my favorite rapper that's still breathing. Man is cold. But he came to my crib to record a verse to this cipher we was doing for the college. And I was joking with him. I'm like, "Watch your head when you come in." But I left my pull-up bar hanging on one of my door frames. And when he walking through, his head hit the whole thing and knocked the whole thing down. I was kidding at first, but I mean, really, watch your head, bro. But besides that, Corey had this personality to where he was zealous about everything, right? And I remember saying that either he gonna be the best bad guy in the world or gonna be the best good guy in the world. Like, there's no in between with him. And he made a choice to be the best good guy in the world. And I remember him saying "I love you." And it wasn't you know how we do nowadays, like men trying to get used to saying it. And we'll say things like, I love you, bro. Or we put that bro at the end of it to make ourselves feel comfortable. But Corey would look at all of his loved ones and be like, I love you. Like before we leave, he makes sure he tells us that he loves us. And when I first heard it from him, it kind of made me feel uncomfortable. And I grew up hearing the words I love you all the time from my parents. But when he did it and I seen how comfortable he was with it, it made me feel comfortable. Now, when I teach my students, I tell them all to their face, I love you. Like they get frustrated sometimes, like, why are you doing this? It's like, I'm doing this because I love you. And I feel like love is an action. Love is consistency. Love is care. Love, more than anything, is sacrifice. So when you say the words and people can attach it to all of those other actions, they know that it's genuine. Right? So sacrifice, my foundation of what love is, comes from Yeshua, the man that y'all call Jesus. What he did to sacrifice his life for everybody that's around him, that is the pure definition of love. Many people don't realize that they tried to kill that man several times throughout the gospel, and he got away every single time. But that last time he understood, like, this is bigger than me. I'm not running anymore. I'm gonna sacrifice my life even though I didn't do anything wrong because I love you. All right, so sacrifice is the greatest form of love. You have to sacrifice something. Like parents will do without just to make sure their children have what they're supposed to have. Right? Husbands and wives will sacrifice something of comfort in their life to make sure that the other spouse gets what they need at that particular time. That's love. Right? So when somebody is telling you that they love you, but you don't feel it because you don't see that any type of form of sacrifice, then that should let you know. But I was listening to this Breakfast Club interview one day of Brother Nuri Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. He said something so profound that it stuck with me from that day. He said, knowledge of self produces love of self. Love of self makes you do for yourself. And then he asked them, what is the root word of brother? He says, other. That means my brother is my other self. So if I have knowledge of self, which produces love of self, which makes me do for myself, then I'm going to be doing the same things to my other self. And when he broke it down like that, I'm like, it makes 100% sense. So if you think about it, love in a large construct is currency. When I look at the love my parents gave me plus the rest of the community, my father and mothers are great pillars in our community. Both of them sacrificed their lives for the youth of our community. So when those people that they helped, my father is, in my honest opinion, my father is the most renowned Little League football coach ever. And my father didn't have that organization to win football games. Now, they won a lot of football games, but my father had that organization to train the youth in the community to take care of their own community. That was the reason why he was coaching. So the effort that he put in from 1978 to 2018, over a span of 40 years, that he was dedicated to that job. The people that he look out for me. Think about that. Because of what my father did to so many different people in the community, I can move through the community now, and those people will look out for me. Now imagine what would happen if the actions that my father did, how that would impact if this man did it, that man did it. Like, it's so many different people pouring into the community. So now we know everybody's children. We look out for everybody's children and loved ones as they're out in the community. You know how they say it takes a village? That's how you create the village. You have to show love. And people, like, love, especially in 2023, is rare because people are trained to look out for self. And that's heartbreaking. Especially, it's like when you see or you hear how people think, especially living in America, everything is just about self. Forget everybody else. I gotta make sure I'm okay. But when you are by yourself struggling and you just shunned everybody else away and you're struggling, you realize how much you need people. You need other people to love and care for you, especially when you're not doing so well, because we can be as strong as we want to be, but we're not going to be strong enough for everything. And in those moments, we need that love from other people. And that's the reason why it's important to have brothers that you can call on, because nobody understands what it feels like to be a man but a man. And we know women are nurturers, right? But the love from your brother is different because he can accurately empathize with what you're feeling like a failure if you fell down in a certain kind of moment or whatever. And this is why it's important to tell your brothers that you love them to their face. I know when I tell my students I love you, a lot of the times I can look in their eyes and tell that was the first time they ever heard a man tell them that they love them. And that may be beautiful for that moment, but it's sort of heartbreaking because these are teenagers going through life without feeling love from men for several reasons. A lot of times the men who's supposed to be there don't show up for them, which is tragic and unfortunate. But all the other men that they are around, we don't intentionally love on the youth. And it's this quote by this man behind me, Tupac. He said, "The hate you give little infants F's everyone." Because we shun the youth and just we sit there and we point fingers at them instead of giving them love, it screws up future generations and it screws up the world moving forward, because you have no idea how disarming love can be. There was this young lady at my school, she always had a scowl on her face every time you see her, and people always ask her, I was like, "What's wrong with you?" She's like, ain't nothing wrong with me. All right. So I made it a point to where every day that I seen when I walk in, she had the same scowl on her face. So I'm going to smile at her and I'm going to try to get her to smile in some kind of way. I'm the youngest of the family, so I can be quite annoying in a very funny way. So I'm going to make it my intention to make sure that every time I walk into school and I see this young woman, I'm going to do something to put a smile on her face. After being intentional with that action for about a week or so, things start to flip. And all of a sudden, that jovial spirit that was inside of her is able to come out now, mainly because she feels safe. She feels safe because somebody created an environment of love. Love can disarm a lot of people. The reason why people are angry and fearful of certain things is because they don't feel safe. Love creates that environment of safety. And it's scary sometimes too, because love requires you to open up. And we're going to talk about this more in depth on another video. But love does make you vulnerable. But if we are intentionally following the 7 rules of life, which the first rule of life is to respect everything. Second rule of life is to treat others how you want to be treated. So if we are going through life and we are intentionally respecting everybody and treat people how we want to be treated, and we are intentional about loving people, they're going to feel that type of safety. It's going to create better environments for us to grow up, especially for our children to grow up. It's going to be a lot less arguments, a lot less strife, and we're going to be able to progress through this world and fix a lot of the stuff that's been ailing us for centuries. So it's important, young men, when you have friends and you know you genuinely love them, don't wait. Before you leave them the next time, say, I love you. It's going to feel awkward. I get it. Tell them, I love you. Just leave it at that. So that's it for today. I want to let y'all know I love you.